Okay, today in class, it's kind of an exciting day. We're going to create our first program in Java. So the goal is pretty straightforward. It's just to hopefully have everybody walking out of here today having at least one program done in the Java language. All right, if you are working from home, one of the things to recognize is that you need to have Java and Eclipse installed before you'll be able to write your first program. I guess if you didn't, you could always type it out in like another Word processing document, but it'd be best to have Java and Eclipse installed. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through the steps. There's a little bit of setup involved, kind of the first time you do this, just getting the file structure and everything set up. So I have a couple of things out here on Schoology for you in today's lesson. All right, so we're on the Friday, this lesson 2, create your first program. So you're watching this video here, and then here's the step-by-step that I'm going to go through with you. But if you want like a printed version of it, you can see it right out here on Schoology. And then I also give you a copy to a working program right here, a Hello Nick program, so that if yours isn't working, you can like look at this one and you could actually copy the code straight out of here if you had to. I'd try to type it up first if you can, but if you're having trouble, you can copy different parts out of here, especially like this main statement, sometimes hard to get right. So if yours is not working, you can use that file to kind of help you. Okay, so the first thing we actually want to do, sorry about this, I'm trying to do two things at once here, but the first thing we want to do is create a place for our programs to go. All right, so we're going to use what's called like a workspace, and so that's just, sorry, this just keeps popping up, but it's just a folder where all our programs are going to be stored. And you can actually do this on the desktop. You could do it on a thumb drive if you want. You could do it in your documents. You just need to know how to navigate to this spot, right? Because when we're done, like you'll be able to click in and see here's my like chapter 1 programs, and then we're going to do this SRC for source programs, and then here's like some programs. So these are what you're actually going to turn into me. So you need to be able to find them and access them. All right, and all they are is really just text files. Like these are just literally text files, but we're going to use Eclipse to create the text files. Okay, so just wherever you are, right click and make a new folder, wherever you make a new folder, and I would generally call it like workspace, right? And I've already got a bunch of these folders, so it's gonna be problematic for me. You just make a new one, call it workspace. Okay, and then the next thing is you need to load up Eclipse. So hopefully you have that installed. So wherever the exe is, I have a shortcut to it on my desktop here. So I'm just going to click that and it'll boot it up. All right, and then this is kind of an important spot is you want to like point. This is saying what files do we want to work on because you can have multiple workspaces. And so you basically just want to browse and navigate to wherever that folder is you just created. Okay, so for me, I just do it on the desktop to keep it simple, but you can see I've got a bunch of different workspaces here. So just browse to the one you just made and hit launch. Okay, and it usually will take a little bit of time to load up, especially the first time it goes. So it'll boot up here, and you might see like a welcome screen or something. Mine won't have that. If you see a welcome screen, you can just hit the X on it because you don't need that. Okay, so you might see a welcome screen like this when you get here. You can just X out of it. You don't need that. All right, and so what we do before we create our first program is we actually have to make like a new Java project. So go up to here and do new Java project. All right, and I usually just name it something like chapter 1 programs with no spaces. So what they usually do in Java is the first letter of a new word is capitalized. Since there's no spaces, that allows you to kind of distinguish between the words. So I would call it something like chapter 1 programs. Okay, and then inside of there, you usually want to make a package called programs. So I'm just going to go over here and do file, new package. All right. And normally I just name this programs with the lowercase p, programs, right? I've already got one, so you don't need to do that, right? And then once you're in there, you can start creating your files. So I'm going to delete since I've already got this one. I'm going to redo this. So I'm going to do file, file and new, and then do class. All right, so maybe I'll do that a little slower. File, new, class. Okay, and that's a new, essentially a class is, for now, think of it as just like a single program. All right, and we're going to name this one Hello Mr. Adkins. Okay, so name it whatever you want, actually. You can call it whatever you want. Usually like Hello World. These are just going to be some basic print statements is what we're going to do. Print some stuff out to the screen. So a lot of times I'll call it Hello World. I'm going to call it Hello Mr. Adkins. Okay, and so it should load it up, and it actually gives you a little bit of code right there. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Okay, and at the start of every Java program, they'll have this package. Just says what package we're in. It kind of does that automatically for you. Eclipse does. If you're not using Eclipse, you'd have to type it out. And then this first part is just to start the program. So public means like it's accessible to like everybody. And classes, they were just starting a class, and then this is the name. Okay, and importantly, this name has to match the name of your .java file. Okay, so whatever your .java is named at the start, this has to be the exact same thing. All right, and if you don't do that, I think it'll give you an error. You can see the little red underline there. That just means it's an error, right? And so if you kind of hover over here, it'll tell you the error a little bit, and it's saying, I don't know if you can see that there, but it must match the file basically. So I'm going to add the S back in. Okay, and then what these curly braces do are these start and open a block of code, a part of a code. So much like you have like indent a paragraph, you start and end a paragraph. In Java, we start and end different little blocks of code. So this is basically saying our program starts here. This is like the open parenthesis, and this is the close. So all of our code for our program needs to go inside of there. If I was to type stuff out here, that's not going to do any good because it has to be part of the program, meaning it has to be between these brackets. Okay. So we just have a program named Hello Mr. Adkins, and then we're going to start typing our code between these two braces, all right, for our first program. Okay, and then the next part, again, this is gonna seem like magic to you at first, but hopefully later in the semester it'll start to make more sense. All right, it's kind of a lot going on, but you have to type this exactly with the exact uppercase and lowercase. So every program starts with called like a main method. So I'm going to do public static, which you're not going to know what that means. Public just means, again, it's accessible to files outside of this one. So public static void, not going to really talk about what that means yet. Main is the name of the method, like the main method. So this is like when you hit go, in a second here, I'm going to hit go on this Java program. It looks for a method called main, right? And it's going to run that main. Okay, so main is just like the main part of the code. Okay, and then you have to do parenthesis, string, and then these bracket, square brackets, you have to find them on your keyboard there, and then args. All right, and so you have to type that exactly as you see here. Again, if you're struggling with it, you can go out here and use this Hello Nick program here to get that, but it's also in your book. But at any rate, you're going to need to type it exactly as seen. Okay, and again, the main thing you gotta know here is main is the name of the method that's going to run when the program starts. Okay, so this little main method, we want to open and close it, much like the name of the class. So I'm going to type in open and close. Oftentimes Eclipse will just add the close bracket for you automatically there. All right, so this is where the main method starts, and this is where it ends. Okay, and all of that is inside of these two parentheses, which is where the program starts and ends. Okay, and so now we can type some statements in here to make the program run. All right, and we are just going to print this first program. All we're going to do is print something to the screen. So we're going to type system, and oftentimes in Eclipse they'll like give you these options. You do system dot, and then it'll give you all the different things you can do, which you don't really got to know now. Just down the road, that's actually pretty handy because it'll complete stuff for you, kind of like autocomplete on Google. Okay, but I want to type system.out.print, and then this is ln. Sometimes students think this right here is a 1, but it's an ln. Okay, so it stands for print a line. The ln is line. Okay, and I'm going to say, hello, Mr. Atkins. Okay, and so you have to type, and then you want to put in parentheses, like an open and close parentheses. So this is kind of what is going to be displayed to the screen, and that's called like a string or some text, and you indicate that by open and close with these double parentheses. Okay, and then this is a statement that's going to execute, do something. So you can see right now I'm getting a little error at the end, like a red error. All right, and actually I'm going to double click. This will make it big. Double click to make it small, but I'm going to use the whole screen here. As you can see, I've got a little error, and that's because I need a semicolon. So all the statements in Java end with a semicolon, much like an English sentence ends with a period. Okay, and you might be saying to yourself, Mr. Westphal, how come I don't have a semicolon here, right? This looks like a statement, and it should have a semicolon at the end. There's kind of two parts to Java code. There is what's called like a block of code, or a section of code. And so that has like an open and close parenthesis. Okay, so if you are doing like the structure of it, or just encapsulating part of it, like the program quote begins and ends here, you don't use a semicolon. You use little curly braces to say, hey, this program starts here and ends here. Statements, all right, that actually do something, those always end in a semicolon. All right, so the difference is you kind of have like little code structures, little parts of the code that begin and end with these curly braces, and then a statement that does something ends with a semicolon. Okay, so if you have it typed exactly correct, we don't have any errors, right? Those red errors are called compile errors, meaning it won't work at all. If you have all of that set, you can hit this little run button. Oh, and I forgot to save it, so it's asking me to save. So if it goes right, you'll get this little console that'll say something, specifically what you typed right there. Okay, so if you hit run, boom, it works. Okay, and once you have this, you can start to add like more statements. So I know Nick is a big Packer fan, so I'm going to type system.out.print second line, go pack go, okay, with a semicolon at the end again. Right, so now it'll print out two statements, right? And then for now, that's kind of the basic command, is just to print out. And one thing to note is the ln prints a return at the end. Okay, so if I take off the ln, the print is a different kind of command that doesn't print a return at the end. So if I do this, it's actually going to look kind of funny, because there's no return and no space between them. Okay, so the print just prints a straight statement, and then if you want to return at the end, do ln. Okay, and normally, you know, each line I do an ln. There's different times where you might want to use print, but certainly when I'm doing a full line, I usually do a print ln. And again, remember, this has to go between the brackets, right? If I was to put this in the wrong spot for a second, say I put it outside of main, okay, well, one, it's giving me an error because it's a problem. It's not inside of a method at all, but it definitely won't work. So if I try and run it, I think I'll just get an error, so I can't even really go. So make sure you put it inside of the main method. So again, the structure of this, we have a program named hello Mr. Atkins. Inside of there, it's going to have a main method. So when you hit go, it's going to look for that main method, and it's going to run the commands inside of there sequentially. Okay, so it runs them in this order, right? So right, if you just want an example, you can imagine if I was to put this first, right? Now it would run the statements in reverse order, and it would print out a little bit different. Okay, that's it. I have a few more notes, but I'm out of time on this video, so I'll have a second video to kind of maybe take some notes on what we've learned today.